This is English shorthand dictation number 167 and the dictation speed is 120 words per minute. Ready? Start. Sir, I know there are people who believe that sales tax is a good tax and that it may be levied. I have a different opinion about it. To my mind, it certainly smacks of what we in India used to have imposed upon the Indian mills and what was called the excise duty on cotton manufacturers. It cannot be anything else except that. If it is shifted by the manufacturer or by the salesman, it is certainly going to affect the consumer. It is certainly going to affect his standard of living. If it is not shifted, if it is borne by the manufacturer himself, then it is going to affect the industry on which it is placed. In either case, it is not a very satisfactory piece of taxation. Now, sir, I am one of those who have always held the view that good things of life do not fall from heaven. They have never done so anywhere. In fact, if you want the good things of life, you have got to pay for them. Unless you pay for them, you cannot get them. I am therefore one of those who cannot have any conscientious objection to taxation, because I am certainly one of those who believe in having the good things of life and also believe in having to pay for them. The question, therefore, that we have to consider is this: what is all this taxation for? What is the purpose? What good the government proposes to do by levying this taxation? It is necessary to remember that the total revenue which the finance minister is proposing to raise by his scheme of taxation is rupees 169 lakhs. I would like to point out one thing. Apart from the question whether the expenditure that is provided for in the budget is adequate having regard to the needs of the province, the one thing that this House should realize is that new taxation is not at all necessary for the new expenditure. The issue is absolutely narrowed down, and the specific question is whether drink is a problem, and if drink is a problem, is it an urgent problem? Unless this House is prepared to give an affirmative answer to both these questions, there will be no justification for voting taxation which has been proposed by the finance minister. Sir, let us make no mistake in analyzing the position. There is no question that drinking is an evil and it does have very bad consequences. But to admit that drink is an evil is not to admit that drink is a problem. Much less is it an admission that it is an urgent problem. Now, sir, let us look at the position in a comparative way. What is the position in the Bombay Presidency? We need not bother ourselves with the rest of India at all for the moment, because we are dealing with the budget of the Bombay Ministry. What is the position in the Bombay Presidency? And what is the position in other countries so far as the drink question is concerned? The Bombay Presidency has a population of 180 lakhs. The total revenue from excise is rupees 325 lakhs. Can anyone say that this consumption of liquor in the Bombay Presidency can be said to create a problem which the state must undertake immediately to meet? A man who gave an affirmative answer would certainly be a man who has lost all his bearings. You can take another test. Take the consumption of liquor, and I take these figures from the report submitted by the government of Bombay itself. What is the total amount of liquor that the people consume? Now, the blue book issued by the government of Bombay says that the average consumption for the whole presidency works out at the rate of 3 drams per head. I am told that it is less than an ounce, and my honorable friends on the opposite side call it a problem. The second distinguishing feature which marks out our country from other countries and which cannot create a problem so far as drink is concerned is that the drink traffic is in the hands of the government. It is not in the hands of private profiteers as it is in the case of America or as it is in the case of other European countries. The government is a responsible body. It is subject to public opinion. It is subject to the opinion of this House and therefore can never do the mischief which a private profiteer can do. As I said, looking at it from every point of view, I refuse to admit that it is a problem which needs to be tackled. Then, sir, the next question that I want to ask is this. Is this such an urgent problem that we must keep aside everything and deal with it first? In order to answer that question, it is necessary to bear in mind what the different needs are of the people of this province. Are the other needs fully satisfied? Are they tolerably satisfied so that we ought to keep them aside for the moment and tackle this one and only problem? Let me take a few illustrations. First of all, take the question of education. With regard to adult education, the position in this province is this. So far as males are concerned, only 14% of the male population is literate. So far as the female population is concerned, only 3% of the female population is literate. That means that practically 86% of the male population and 97% of the female population still needs to be taught the rudiments of education so that they may carry on the activities of their life without falling a prey to the machinations of other classes. We have had a committee appointed by the government to report upon this matter. That committee has made its report, but I do not find any provision made in the present budget to carry out the proposals made by that committee. Let us take children's education. What is the position in this province? In this province, one thing which is absolutely undeniable is that this government has repudiated its responsibility in regard to college education. I think there can be no doubt on the point. This government does not think that giving higher education to the boys of this province is one of its own responsibilities that has been left by the government to private agencies. With regard to secondary education, the matter is more or less on the same footing. The government does not take responsibility on its shoulders, but it supplements the money collected by private agencies in the form of small grants from public treasury. Therefore, we are really under a very limited field of activity so far as education is concerned. Then there is primary education. what has the government done with regard to primary education? From the figures that I have been able to collect yesterday, I find the present position is this. The Primary Education Act applies to children who are between 6 and 11 years of age.